Besides, you love it. Jungkook gasped, the heat in his cheeks intensifying. He quickly pulled back, trying to regain some composure, but the damage was done. His emotions were all over the place. Tae's touch, his words, the way he always seemed to know exactly how to drive him crazy. Jungkook started, but no words came out. He huffed in frustration, biting back a laugh. You're impossible. You know that? Tae gave him an amused look, his smirk never leaving his face. I'm just having a little fun. You're so serious all the time, beautiful. You need someone to shake things up for you. Jungkook's face turned even redder at the suggestion. He wasn't sure if he should be mad or flustered. He hated that Tae always seemed to have the upper hand in their little banter. You're still distracting me, Jungkook muttered under his breath, looking down at the floor, his hands gripping the front of Tae's shirt. Tae chuckled again, his hand finding Jungkook's chin and lifting his face to meet his gaze. If I'm distracting you so much, maybe I should take responsibility for it, huh? Jungkook's heart skipped a beat at the implication, but before he could respond, Tae pressed his lips to his forehead softly, a gentle, affectionate kiss that was at odds with the intensity of the conversation. It left Jungkook breathless, his mind whirling. I'll stop distracting you, my baby professor boyfriend, Tae whispered with a teasing smirk, pulling back to look Jungkook in the eye. When you stop pretending you don't want this. Jungkook opened his mouth to protest, but no words came. Instead, he could only look at Tae, his chest heavy with everything that was left unsaid between them. Tae's gaze never left him, the eyes watching him intently as Jungkook shifted uncomfortably, unable to hold his stare for long. His face flushed deeper, and he looked away, trying to gather his thoughts. You're so cute when you're shy, you know that? Tae said with a smirk, his voice low and teasing. His fingers brushing against Jungkook's arm, sending another jolt of heat through the older man's body. Tae's touch was light, almost like a whisper, but it had the same effect as a brand, leaving Jungkook burning from the inside out. Jungkook shifted awkwardly, looking everywhere but at Tae. His palms were clammy, and he couldn't seem to keep still, his body betraying him at every turn. I don't know what you... Jungkook stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Tae chuckled softly, enjoying the sight of Jungkook struggling to form a coherent sentence. He leaned in closer, his breath warm against Jungkook's ear as he whispered. You don't have to explain, baby. I can see it in your eyes. You're more than just shy right now, aren't you? Jungkook swallowed, his mouth dry. He could feel Tae's presence, so overpowering, so intoxicating. His heart raced, and he tried to shake off the thoughts, tried to push them away, but Tae had already planted them there. But then, Tae straightened up, pulling away just enough to glance at the clock on the wall. The bell signaling the end of break rang, a harsh reminder of the reality they both had to face. The moment was slipping away. You should get back to your work now, Tae said, his tone softer now, but with that same underlying tension that made Jungkook's stomach twist. He took a step back, but his eyes never left Jungkook's face. Jungkook blinked, feeling the sudden emptiness of Tae's absence. He didn't know what to say or do, He felt like his entire world had shifted in the span of a few minutes, and now it was too late to go back. His heart was still pounding in his chest, and yet Tae was already pulling away. "Don't worry, sweetheart. You'll be thinking about me for the rest of the day. I can't say I'm not looking forward to it." Tae did, a playful glint returning to his eyes. His voice was teasing, but there was something more beneath it, a promise, maybe, or a warning. Jungkook opened his mouth, trying to respond, but no words came out. He just nodded, his gaze falling to the floor, unable to meet Tae's eyes as the younger man turned and walked toward the door. "See you later, Professor Baby," Tae said, his voice laced with mock sweetness, before he opened the door and stepped out, leaving Jungkook standing there, breathless and confused, heart racing, yet entirely endured. The door clicked shut behind him, and Jungkook was left alone, standing in the now empty classroom, his body still humming from the encounter. He couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread, knowing this wasn't the last time their worlds would collide. But for now, the tension was gone, replaced with a silence that seemed too loud. After work, Jungkook adjusted his glasses nervously as he stepped out of the building, clutching his satchel close. His mind was still a whirlwind of emotions after what had happened earlier in the classroom. The way Tae kissed him, teased him, and left him completely flustered had him questioning everything. He shook his head, trying to focus on anything other than the younger man, but as soon as he stepped into the parking lot, his resolve shattered. Tae was there, leaning casually against his sleek black car. The late afternoon sun bathed him in a golden glow, highlighting his sharp jawline and tousled dark hair. He was dressed in a loose white shirt with a few buttons undone, exposing just enough of his chest to make Jungkook's cheeks burn. His dark jeans fit perfectly, accentuating his long legs and casual confidence. Tae's gaze locked onto Jungkook the moment he appeared, and a smirk spread across his lips. Jungkook's steps faltered. He couldn't look away, his heart racing as Tae's intense eyes practically pinned him in place. Tae noticed the way Jungkook's eyes roamed over him, lingering a little too long on the exposed skin of his collarbone, and his smirk deepened. "Baby Professor," Tae called out, his voice low and teasing. "If you're going to stare at me like that, shouldn't you at least get closer?" Jungkook's breath hitched, his face heating up instantly. I wasn't," Jungkook stammered, but his words were cut off as Tae pushed off the car and sauntered toward him with the kind of confidence that made Jungkook's knees feel weak. "You went?" Tae challenged, his tone dripping with mock disbelief. He stopped in front of Jungkook, leaning down slightly so they were eye level. "Then why were your pretty eyes glued to me, huh?" Jungkook bit his lip, his hands clutching the strap of his bag tightly as he looked away, desperate to escape the intensity of Tae's gaze. "I wasn't staring," Jungkook mumbled weakly. Tae chuckled, the deep sound sending a shiver down Jungkook's spine. "You're a terrible liar, sweetheart," Tae said, his voice dropping an octave. "But since we're still outside your workplace, maybe you should continue your staring inside my car. Don't you think?" Jungkook's eyes widened, and he quickly looked around to see if anyone was nearby. His face flushed even deeper, and he nodded quickly, avoiding Tae's amused gaze as he made his way to the passenger side of the car. Tae smirked at Jungkook's shy retreat, his heart pounding with satisfaction at how easily he could fluster him. Once Jungkook was inside, he focused on the dashboard, his hands fidgeting in his lap as Tae slid into the driver's seat. Tae started the engine, his movements calm and deliberate as he pulled out of the lot. The silence between them was thick, the tension from earlier still lingering in the air. Jungkook finally glanced up, frowning when he noticed they weren't heading toward his apartment. He turned to Tae, his voice uncertain. "Tae, where are you taking me? Aren't you dropping me off at my apartment?" Tae's lips curled into a wicked smirk, his eyes flicking briefly to Jungkook before returning to the road. "Who said I was dropping you off at your apartment? I never said that," Tae asked, his tone smooth and teasing. Jungkook blinked, his heart skipping a beat. "Then, where are we going?" Jungkook asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tae's smirk grew as he turned into a familiar road leading to his private apartment complex. "My place," Tae said simply, his tone filled with confidence. "You didn't think I'd let you off so easily after earlier, did you?" Jungkook's mouth fell open, his cheeks turning bright red as he stared at Tae in disbelief. "What your place? But why?" Tae glanced at him again, his dark eyes gleaming with mischief. "Because, honey, I still have some things to say to you. And I'd rather have you all to myself while I say them." Jungkook swallowed hard, his heart hammering in his chest. He didn't know what to say or how to react. Being alone with Tae in his apartment? The thought sent his mind spiraling. "You're quiet," Tae noted, his voice soft but laced with amusement. "What's going on in that pretty little head of yours, baby professor?" Jungkook's hands fidgeted in his lap, his gaze fixed on the passing scenery outside the window. I just didn't expect this," Jungkook admitted quietly. Tae chuckled, the sound warm and teasing. "Well, you should start expecting the unexpected with me. I like keeping you on your toes," Tae said, his tone playful. Jungkook didn't respond, his mind too preoccupied with the fact that they were already pulling into the parking garage of Tae's building. As Tae parked the car and turned off the engine, he turned to Jungkook, his smirk softening into something more genuine. "Come on," Tae said, his voice gentle as he reached out to brush a stray strand of hair from Jungkook's forehead. "Let's go upstairs. I promise I won't bite, unless you ask me to." Jungkook's eyes widened, and Tae laughed at his adorable reaction, his heart swelling with affection as he opened the door and stepped out, waiting for Jungkook to follow. Jungkook hesitated for a moment, his fingers tightening around the strap of his bag before he finally got out of the car. His heart was racing, but a small part of him was curious, maybe even excited, to see where this would lead. With Tae, he never knew what to expect, but maybe that was what made it so thrilling. The soft click of the door echoed as Tae entered his luxurious apartment, Jungkook trailing hesitantly behind him. Jungkook's wide eyes roamed the space, admiring the elegant decor, the floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased the city lights, and the minimalistic yet cozy ambience. Tae's presence, however, pulled his focus back, his commanding aura filling the room effortlessly. Tae casually tossed his car keys on the couch as he turned to face Jungkook. The older man stood near the door, nervously playing with the hem of his sweater, his eyes darting around as if unsure where to settle. "Make yourself comfortable, Professor Baby," Tae said, his voice smooth and deep. His smirk widened as he noticed Jungkook's nervous fidgeting. "Unless you're still thinking about staring at me like earlier, I wouldn't mind." Jungkook's cheeks flushed instantly, and he avoided Tae's piercing gaze. I wasn't staring." Yeah, if you say so," Tae said, his smirk growing more teasing. Jungkook's eyes flicked toward him, only to find Tae leaning against the kitchen counter, watching him with an intensity that made his knees weak. Tae pushed off the counter and approached him, each step deliberate and confident. When he stopped in front of Jungkook, he held out a small bag. "Here, I bought these for you. Go get freshened up. Washroom on the left," Tae said, his tone softer now. Jungkook blinked, looking at the bag in surprise. "You bought these for me?" Tae nodded, his expression unreadable. "Of course. I wasn't going to let you sit in those uncomfortable clothes all night." Jungkook hesitated for a moment, then accepted the bag, feeling a warmth in his chest that he couldn't quite explain. "Thank you. Don't take too long, though. I don't have all night to wait for my adorable professor." Tae did, stepping back with a small smirk. Jungkook's face turned crimson, and he quickly escaped to the bathroom, his heart pounding in his chest. Jungkook opened the bag and saw, "To be continued." Thanks for watching, puffballs. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and share. Also subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any updates.